In this episode, I chat with Amy Riedel, an experienced chiropractor of adults and babies, Spinning Babies Awareness Practitioner, Lactation Consultant, Kinesiologist, and mother of 3. This conversation provides clarity on the role and approach that chiropractic treatments from a specialised practitioner can have on babies and children, and the benefits that gentle, hands-on work can have on improving the developmental stages of the child, especially if there are delays in reaching milestones. It can also facilitate shifts in babies who may be experiencing birth trauma or birth processing and subsequent tension in their bodies. Amy reveals how specialised tactile work can even assist with feeding difficulties, retained reflexes, and inability of babies to adopt certain positions, such as on their back or in the car. Amy works with pregnant women and throughout their journey. She is focused on a holistic approach and endeavours to look outside the obvious symptom for more subtle ways in which pain patterns have developed. This is a great episode. Enjoy. Hello, we're joined by the lovely Amy today on the podcast. Amy, can you tell us a little bit about you, where you are based in the world, and who you're a mama to?
Yes, so I am a chiropractor and an IBCLC, and I live in Sydney, and I work in the Inner West at the moment, just from my home clinic in Croydon. But I'm going to be doing something, I'm hopefully going to be working somewhere else in the near distant future, also in the Inner West, but I can't say anything more about that at the moment. But and I have 3 kids, so they're 8, 6 and 4.
Amazing. Yeah, so cute. I've seen you along the way, haven't I? And I think you might have only had one child when I was seeing you. So, or maybe one child and pregnant with the second. So
probably. I
you've
was
certainly
just
come
pregnant
along.
non-stop it felt like forever. So, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So as I said, I've had first-hand experience of how amazing your services are as a chiropractor anyway, but I know that you have a number of other qualifications. Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, so I mostly work in the women's health, pregnancy and pediatric space. And so I'm a chiropractor. I am a Spinning Babies Aware Practitioner. And I do OMP, which is optimal maternal positioning, which is quite similar to spinning babies. I am a IBCLC, so I did the training in breastfeeding support a couple of years ago because I was seeing so many postnatal mums and really seeing the need for, when people need help, they need it right now. And I was very fortunate to be in that space where I was seeing those mums at that time. And I've done pediatric training as well. I think that's everything. I think it sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So just briefly tell us, for someone that's kind of heard those words and not sure what they mean, what is the Spinning Babies Awareness and the OMP work? Are they quite linked? What is that all about?
They are. So Spinning Babies was developed by a lady called Gail Tully, and it is focused on creating balance within the body. And if we can find that if the body is balanced and there's less resistance for the baby on the way out of the birth canal, and we know if the body is balanced, that if the baby is able to, they're going to be able to get into a more favourable position for labour. So sometimes there's structural reasons why babies might not be in a favourable position, I have seen this happen. For example, the cord is short or the cord might be wrapped around the belly or something. So when the baby has the space, they try to move into one position, the cord stretches, they don't like it, so they move back. So, that's what Spinning Babies is all about, is how can we get the mother's body as soft and supple and balanced as possible to enable the birth process to have as little resistance as possible. OMP is it is very similar, but I guess it's less baby positioning centered and more about the maternal. OMP stands for optimal maternal positioning. So it's using a lot of the same moves, but it has more of a focus on how can we actually move the body to create change in, I can show with my pelvis. actually changing the outlet and the inlet to create space for the baby. So they're very similar and work really well together.
Yeah, awesome. So would you say that a mother wouldn't necessarily be aware of whether she has the optimal space inside her pelvis for her baby to come through? Is it something that she should just probably get checked out anyway? Because,
I think
maybe there are little tweaks and
my
things.
understanding is it's actually quite rare for a baby to not fit structurally through a mother's bones. But what the issue tends to be is that the soft tissues are creating resistance. So they're not allowing everything to move and stretch open as much as it could allow. I've been working with pregnant women for 15 years, and I've seen two really common pregnancy, I call them archetypes, right? So people tend to be really soft and supple. And it's like when they lie down, they almost have to pick themselves back up to get off the table. And they've got to be super careful with what movements they do because they can get really set off by stairs or lunges or very movement based. And then you've got this other spectrum of women who, and my question is always, since you've been pregnant, do you feel like your body's gotten tighter or do you feel like it's gotten soft and loose and floppy? And so many people say that they get tighter, and you wouldn't really expect that because when you're pregnant, you get the relaxants, you just assume that your body's going to get soft and supple. But what I do find is those people who get tighter tend to have more comfortable pregnancies. So they tend to not reach out for care as often because they feel good. They tend to get more aches and pains like at nighttime or if they haven't been moving, and they can generally kind of move in whatever way they want. They can go do weights, they can go for a walk, and it doesn't, as long as they move, they feel a bit better generally. But I do find that those women can have longer births, and that's often where the intervention then kicks in. So I think one of the things I love about spinning babies is they have a technique called the what is it? So monitoring your fetal position. So knowing where the big kicks are and where the little movements are, and kind of guesstimating where you think your baby might be sitting, rather than waiting for a care provider to tell you, oh, your baby's breech or your baby's posterior. And if we can have a look at that information, that can guide us to whether or not there might be some tension here. What kind of things are you doing during your day? Is your job asymmetrical? Are you crossing your legs all the time? Are you sitting a lot? And that can all play into whether or not the body's holding tension and is going to be a barrier as the baby tries to come out.
Yeah, so great to know. And I think that that's just an invitation as well, probably as a pregnant woman, to not wait to the very last, couple of weeks, is maybe to be, and that's obviously when, I know even as a massage therapist, that's when you hear from women when they're actually beyond what they can manage now. But to kind of be assessing that as you go and learning ways that you can take them,
there's
power
so
over your
much
own body
that's
too.
not in our control when it comes to birth, but there's heaps that is. And our bodies just aren't designed for modern life. We're not designed to be stressed all the time. We're not designed to sit. Growing up in the anorexic chic era of suck your stomach in is also not great for the pelvic floor. So often people's pelvic floors are quite tight. So getting in and addressing tension in the body early makes a really, really big difference. In saying that, this week I've had 3 babies at 37 weeks go with body work and doing the spinning babies work flip out of breech. So it does happen later in the pregnancy, but you've got more chance of it happening if you start early.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic news. I'm sure those mamas are thrilled. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so moving forward through to postpartum. This is a time when a lot of mums it's no longer about them, it's about the baby, and often they forget that they have needs too.
Yep.
When would you suggest a postpartum mum comes in? What sort of things would you suggest would be warranted for coming in the first 6 weeks, say?
I recommend women get a check within the first 6 weeks as soon as they feel ready. So personally, I would drive home to my osteo clinic that I used to work at on the way home from hospital, because I can remember one birth I noticed when I was sitting up trying to feed, my coccyx and sacrum was really sore, and the body goes through a lot during birth, either really quickly or it can be slow. But often, if there's a stress element to labour as well, your body can't fight, can't fly, it freezes. So whatever position you're in that space, you can kind of hold on to.
Right.
And you want to get in and do some work in that first 6 weeks before the ligamentous laxity starts to wear off. I can't tell you the amount of women I've seen who, say, are 50 years old, who have had chronic back pain, and you ask questions about, have you had any trauma, or have you had when did this start? And they hadn't linked, it was that first year postpartum. So just getting in and resetting the body and creating as much balance in the body after birth as possible can really set you up to thrive in postnatal. Because I think the stats are about 1 in 10 women will get postnatal pain persistently after 1 year, which is quite a lot. But if we can get in and do some work early, it can really decrease those numbers. So that's one reason.
Yeah.
Pain would be a reason to come in. For breastfeeding support. So you spend so much of your time as a mum either breastfeeding or bottle feeding, but looking down like this.
Yes.
And that puts a lot of strain on the posterior chain of fascia that we have through our back, through the neck, through the back. And that area is really important for lymphatic drainage as well. So whenever I see women who have got mastitis, for example, they always have a tight mid-back. So getting that area moving well will allow drainage to happen and help the body flush away inflammation. So pain, breastfeeding, and then also if they're noticing that there's something going on with the baby. So babies should generally be quite settled and feeding reasonably easily. And if that's not happening, it's worthwhile checking the baby for tension and seeing what's going on with the baby's nervous system. Because it's one of the most common I wish I'd known that mums say to me is, I wish I knew that there was something I could do that could help. And it can really set you up to enjoy your baby in those early months rather than it being really, really difficult.
Yeah, that's amazing that they can come in really for, to have all their needs met, really. So that's great to know that they can come in for you. You're also an IBCLC, so you can handle any sort of questions or concerns regarding that, but also they're taken care of. And I think a lot of women wouldn't really be aware, or people in general, that you can bring a baby in for a chiro treatment.
I think a lot of people are scared by it because they hear chiro and go, oh, you're going to crack a baby. But that's really not what we're doing at all. It's so gentle. Their joints are very different to ours. They're kind of like big bags of fluid, and the techniques you use on babies are all about taking their bodies to where they like, and it gives their nervous system a chance to take a breath, take a sigh, and just go and relax. And it's super duper gentle, but can be really, really powerful and effective. Babies run from this part of their brainstem that sits just at the base of the neck called the brainstem, and it controls sleep-wake cycles, resting tone, digestion. So if you think about colicky, irritated babies, their digestion's off, they're wired, they're clenching their fists, they're tight all over, and often they're difficult to get to sleep or settle. And so if we can calm down their nervous system, that will help regulate that brain stem function. And people often asking, but why? Why does that happen to a baby? It can be lots of things. Commonly it's birth, so it's a slow birth, a quick birth, any interventions. It all puts a lot of strain on the baby's body. It can be how baby was sitting in utero. So some babies will just hang out on one side of the belly the whole pregnancy, and they might be like this while they're doing that. So when they come out, they're like that. So there's lots of different reasons, but I find that babies are very quick to respond to treatment because they haven't held on to patterns as long as we have. So when I see a first-time client who's 20, who's had neck pain for 10 years, it's going to take a lot longer for them to shift that pattern compared to a baby who's had it for maybe a week or however long they were in utero. So you know very
Yes,
quickly with babies if it's going to make a difference or not.
Yeah, that's really good to know. Yeah. And I think too, babies really do need to just process, don't they? They need to process their experience that they've had. They need to process their journey down the birth canal or whichever way they were born. And so, yeah, it makes sense to just give them a little bit of TLC, you know, activating their nervous system, also helping to mature their nervous system and development. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So what would be some things that a mama would kind of be looking out for in her baby as to why maybe she would come in to you and see you?
Okay. So asymmetry is a big one. If you're noticing that your baby is always turning their neck like this, or another common one is they look like a banana. So when they're lying flat, they should be nice and straight. Sometimes they're bent and curved to the sides. Their legs will kink up. Or in certain positions, they might look different. So if they're on their tummy, for example, one arm might be out straight, one arm might be back. So any kind of asymmetry suggests that there is tension somewhere. They should be the same on both sides. That's the first one. Is there a breast?
And can I just ask?
Yeah.
Amy, can I just ask? Should that be from the outset, or would you sort of need to wait a few more weeks to see if it changes?
They're all just clues, right? So it's not going to be usually when it happens, if it's a birth related thing, it's from the outset. Sometimes it can be it can develop as time goes on, as their collagen and their tissues change as well. It might come on when they're a little bit older, but usually it's from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What was I going to say next? I can't remember what you asked.
Sorry to interrupt your group. Yeah.
So asymmetry
number
is
two.
One. With feeding,
Yes.
do they have a favourite breast? So unless your breast anatomy is quite different, if it's similar, babies should be able to feed relatively similarly on both sides. And what I see, and I view my way of looking at lactation has probably got that chiropractic lens through it. So I'm looking at it in a slightly different way. But if the baby's tight, they might find one side much easier to feed on than the other. So, for example, if their neck is turned like this, getting them onto that breast is going to be difficult for them because they have to turn their head to do that. So it might be babies who feed quite well here and they're not feeding so well there. Or you might find that your flow is really good on one side and not the other, and that can be in coordination of their suck-swallow reflex, which can be part of neck tension, jaw tension, that kind of thing. So, yeah, usually all of these symptoms will come together as well. You often have multiple. So babies who feed on one side, they'll be like, oh, yeah, and they also don't like turning their head this way. Or when I put them on, they're always taking their head off. Babies, to be able to get onto the breast, they need to be able to extend their head. And if they're tight doing that, that will find that really difficult. If they're tight through their mid-back, that will also be difficult. So, yeah, very, very gentle releases can make a huge difference to breastfeeding very quickly. So that's breastfeeding, asymmetry, not liking certain movements. So some babies will hate tummy time. Some babies will hate the car. They're really common ones. Often babies can't last that long in tummy time, but if they dislike it pretty quickly, it's usually because something's tight. So again, we'll talk about that upper back. If that's not moving well and when they're lying on their tummy, they're going to find it much harder to lift their head. So often they'll just drop their head down. If their shoulders are tight or sitting forward, it'll be harder for them to put their hands down to push up. So they often have their arms splayed behind them. In the car, it can be if their chin can't tuck or it can't extend and they're forced into a certain position of the car seat, that's uncomfortable for them. Or the strap's going over the shoulders if it's sitting forward and it's pushing, that can be uncomfortable too. It's not always those factors, but it's good to rule that stuff out, because if you can get onto it, it can, like I said before, it doesn't take much treatment and it can make a really, really big difference. And then meeting developmental milestones is another one. So if babies aren't meeting, for example, if they're not rolling when we'd like them to be, or if they're only rolling one way, or if they are bum shuffling, or they're not getting up on both knees, they're all signs that there's something going on. So there's tightness somewhere. Sometimes there might be retained primitive reflexes. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
So that's something.
Can you please explain that?
Yeah. So we are born with a whole bunch of reflexes that are built into our nervous system because our brain is still functioning from that brainstem level, which we don't have that conscious thought yet. So it's and the whole idea of them is it helps babies survive. So it helps them to get out of the birth canal and find the breast. And then as our nervous system develops, which it does via touch and movement, over that first year of life, those reflexes go away and they're replaced with postural reflexes. So by the time we're 1 and 2, we don't really want to have any of those primitive reflexes anymore. And when they hang around, you can see that the nervous system might not be functioning quite as well as it could. So that can look like delayed milestones or just not moving coordinated like you would hope. There's a really common one which is called the Moro reflex, which is like a startle response. So sometimes like kids who are really wired, it's because they've still retained that reflex. So just looking for those, and there's different ways that we can help the body integrate them.
Have you actually seen like a baby come in with some sort of retained reflex and then post-treatment start to improve? Yeah.
Yes. Last year I had a baby who they weren't rolling on time. They weren't crawling on time. And that we did all of the body work. So looking at the dura, which is what encases the spinal cord, which is what causes that banana bend, releasing tension in that, looking at segmentally and what was going on with the neck and all of that. The baby felt really, really good and still wasn't rolling. I was like, what is going on? And tested those primitive reflexes, and it still had the ATNR reflex, which is the one that when you turn your head that way, you do that. And it means that baby go, that's my hand is mine, but it should go away. And when it does, it helps you to cross the body with movement, which you need to be able to crawl properly. You need it to be able to read properly. So often kids with retained ATNR reflexes can struggle with reading and writing at school. So we did some work to get that reflex to go away, and then straight away started crawling.
That's amazing. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas other babies, you'll just release the tension in their body, and then they'll start to crawl, or whatever the movement is.
It will be a more gradual thing, but that's awesome. So probably putting you on the spot here, but are you kind of indicating that a baby, like some families will kind of almost brag that their baby never crawled, went straight to walking?
Yeah.
Do you think that a baby really does need to go through all of these developmental milestones in order to be able to, that it doesn't affect them later in life? What do you think?
That's often people's reaction, isn't it? Well, like, I didn't crawl. Look at me. I played and went to the Olympics or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, great. But maybe you would have even been better if you had crawled.
Yeah.
It's all about optimal function, and it can impact lots of different things. So for that reflex, for example, it can impact coordination, gross motor skills, fine motor skills. There's a lot of those reflexes impact lots of different areas of life. So this is where holistic healthcare is different to medical care, because we're looking more about overall how can we improve the function of that individual so that they're firing at their absolute best. So I would say that crawling is very necessary, yes. And if you ask someone who didn't crawl to get on the floor and crawl, they'll find it really hard. But that's the amazing thing about the plasticity of our brain is no matter what age you are, you can always improve stuff. So if you didn't crawl as a kid, you can go on the floor and start crawling, and that will give your brain a better movement pattern, better pathway, and then you can start firing those, and that will improve your coordination, your hand grip, all sorts of different things. So I would say yes, but just having the knowledge is what is empowering, because you can always make a choice to further down the track to help that person to get to a more higher functioning place.
Absolutely, yeah, I love that. It's great to know. And, a lot of the time we don't know these things. And I know I
Yeah.
certainly didn't have the resources years ago with my children that is offered now. I'd love to bring my babies, if I had my time again, to, to get some extra support chiropractically and to
Totally.
massage.
I mean,
and to,
I feel the same way even with my kids. What I know now compared to when they were younger. Yeah. But I also see a lot now, there's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
In where people are getting a lot of different advice from lots and lots of different people, and it's often very, very conflicting. So being able to really listen to your mother's gut is so important, because there's not going to be one right way of doing anything. There's so many ways you can get there, and you don't have to be perfect, and we can always work on it. But yeah, I find that a lot, especially my breastfeeding clients. Someone saying you have to do it this way and you should be doing it like this. And that's really anxiety. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so confusing, isn't it, when you're hearing all different, conflicting advice. Yeah. I think it's really helpful, though, with it sparked my interest with the breastfeeding with some of the clients I see, because a lot of the time it's a laughable subject that the baby kind of only likes one boob. It's kind of like, oh no, that there's something wrong with the other one, or it produces a different type of milk. So, but there could be a little bit more to it, and I think it's good to maybe look at that with some curiosity. So that's something I definitely take on board when I'm chatting with my clients about. Okay, well, maybe let's look at why there's a favoritism towards one side. It could be something.
I mean, going back, asking what people's births was like is massive. Because things like forceps, most forceps babies will have some kind of tension, especially in their neck. So was the birth really fast? So quick births, the body has to change so much, and the cranial molding that occurs can really impact, like, even the shape of the palate. So there's a lot going on.
Oh, it's so interesting. Okay, let's get back to our mums. So, when clients come in to see us, they're often in pain, right?
Yeah.
But often they're thinking of their physical pain and nothing much else about it. But we know it's often multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
So which sort of factors do you like to think about when a person, in this case maybe a woman who's had a child, presents to you, say, pelvic pain? What will you be looking at to get a holistic view?
There's three main reasons people have pain. We have physical considerations. So age, old injuries, how they move, how they don't move, what kind of birth they had, how much they're having to do around their home. Do they have other children? So the physical side of things. And that's what most practitioners will do. But then there's a couple of other areas we need to look at as well. So chemical. So that's got to do with our gut health and how that might be impacting our overall body. I see it a lot in people who have kind of tension all over their body. I feel like a lot of that's coming from their gut. So fixing that can make a huge difference. And those people I was talking to about that tight or tense mobility archetype, often there's a gut-related component to those people, because if we can decrease inflammation through the gut, it can impact tension throughout the whole body. And then the emotional too. So how is our nervous system wired? Where do we store emotion? Where do we hold tension when we're feeling stressed? Or I ask that question to everyone, and most people are aware of it. Most people say things like, oh, it's my lower back or it's my neck. But I had someone say once, it's my knee. You just don't even.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then other people have no idea. So getting in tune with the fact that our body holds on to feeling, and that there are things that we can do to help to regulate our nervous system, but also techniques that can help to make our physiology okay with whatever's going on. So since I've been working from home for 3-4 years now, and I'm now able to kind of practice more in the way that allows me to explore that side of things a little bit more. I don't know if you can see in the background, there's an NET poster. So that's just all the different, that's neuro-emotional technique, which is working.
Show your camera. Move your camera a little bit before you can see it. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
So it's just all different parts of the body and what emotions we hold and where. And look, that style of treatment's not for everyone. I get that.
Yes.
But if you're open to it, it can make a really, really big difference.
Yeah.
For example,
I know
I've had breech clients before where you do all the physical stuff, you do all the spinning babies, all the release work, and baby hasn't flipped, and then do some NET, and then baby turns around. Or people who've had persistent, I can think of one client I saw who had persistent pelvic pain in pregnancy. We were doing all the body work on her, and it wasn't really getting better. And she was living away from her family. Family were in a different country, and so we did some NET work on the pelvis, and it was all about her being isolated and being far away from family, and her pain was gone. So often pain that doesn't make sense has an emotional component to it. That's what I find.
Yeah. I love all those examples.
Yeah.
You must have so many in your weekly treatments must bring you such a variety of different profiles, and working with people. It's really it's hard to manage work and family sometimes, because our work, I know I'm quite probably similar to you in this way, is our work is kind of our vocation. So it is definitely who we are. And often people say to me, what do you do in your free time? And I love reading, but my books are often around motherhood or postpartum or well-being or well-adjusted babies or learning to do with my work. And they're like, but you're still working. I said, not really, because I actually really enjoy this.
Yeah.
So, it becomes kind of a bit blurred sometimes. So how would you say that you manage? You're a busy mum of 3 young ones. How do you manage that work, family?
It's a very delicate
and your own health. Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I think because I've always, one of my highest values is health. So I've always prioritized it, and I spend money on it because it's really important to me. So, I mean, I personally see someone once every 4 to 6 weeks or so to keep my body in check. And that makes a big difference. I mean, I'm pretty good at looking after myself. I don't really drink too much. I love coffee. But I find it's a really, really delicate balancing act of working a certain amount and being present a certain amount as well. And it's hard. And I feel like surrendering to the season that you're in is so vital to that as well. Because I know that now that I'm sort of switching out of the season of babyhood into more, my youngest is 4, it's a different space now where I'm able to get up and go to the gym in the morning now, but I haven't been able to do that. My oldest is nearly 9. I haven't been able to do that in that whole time. So finding the right balance and finding ways to regulate your nervous system in that space, and taking parenting as a opportunity to grow and learn, because understanding that most of my triggers that are in my children are actually my stuff that I need to work on. So I find doing that stuff makes a really, really big difference to how I'm coping. Being able to ask for help is big. I live in Sydney. I don't have family here, so that's finding your mum tribe and people that you can rely on is a huge part of it. The sisterhood of mothers. There's some things that, as woke as your husband can be, they won't get. Like
Yeah.
having women who've
Exactly.
gone through it, who are doing what you're doing, can make it so much easier.
Yeah. And it's worth
Yeah.
the effort of finding other like-minded mums and mums that you can count on.
Yes.
Some women are too, what if I can't find them, or what if,
Yeah.
I say something vulnerable and then they judge me. It's worth putting that effort in because you will find them. They
You
are
will.
out
And
there.
I also
And
found that when you're really in that baby phase, you feel like it's going to be like that forever. And you, having
yes.
come out of it now, you can have that like hindsight to see it's not like that. And sometimes it can be just important to have friends for a season. So just having people who are going through what you're going through at the same time, where you can talk about exactly the same things. Because if you're not going through the same age, if you've got friends who've got babies who may be 6 months or even 3 months older, it can
Yeah.
be so different. You forget. I can't remember anything about having a newborn. Like there's things that
Yes.
it can be really nice just to have people who you're going through it for a season, and then you don't have to be with them for forever. But connection's really
Yeah,
big.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and there's been some mums recently that have been saying the very same thing, that it's different even if your friends have got children, even as you said, 6 weeks, 6 months, a slightly different age. It's still a bit of a disconnect then, but the ones that are actually where you're at get it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
very
also, yeah,
true. Well,
having
it's
that
very
feeling can also come from support. So like with my third baby, I had a postnatal doula, and it was the best thing ever.
mm,
So
mm,
investing in that kind of support can make a really big difference. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. But I'm even a big fan of later down the track of your mothering, because it's not done after the immediate postpartum, that six
No.
weeks or that 3 months. And I think that's something that I'd personally, that's a bit of a mission of mine, is to also get the message out that we need support at other times in our mothering. And particularly like when you start to go into adolescence, teenage years,
Yeah.
that's when we often lose that. And
Yeah.
not many mothers are talking about those issues. So that's kind of something I'm working on behind the scenes.
Love it.
You've brought out some beautiful points about, how mothers can feel more supported and resourced. In a nutshell, what is your message to mothers if you were talking to yourself as a mother, um, back when you first had your first child? What would you like to be the message to you in this modern, fast-paced world?
I think there's a lot of pressure on us to try and do it all and be perfect and get back to everything that we were able to do before, and find it our lives now are so fast paced, and being able to find the stillness and the calm and the quiet um, can make a really, really big difference. I think health begins not by rushing, but by regulating. So finding those ways to really regulate our nervous system can make a huge difference to how we feel. And there's lots of
Yeah.
ways you can do that. So, breath we're always breathing. So just
Mhm.
everyone's got time to breathe. So finding a way to connect back to your breath. Grounding. So if you're at the park with the kids, take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground. Making sure people are getting enough water. It's massive.
Mm.
Most people I see don't drink enough water, and when people start drinking water, they feel so much better. And yeah, I feel like women always look after themselves last. So whatever it is for you that makes you feel good and fills your cup up, trying to give yourself time and space to do that. And if that means it's sleep, or if it's eating a tub of ice cream, whatever season you're in, you've got to just allow yourself that's okay, and not having to be perfect.
I love it. Yeah. Lots of good tips in there from a well-seasoned mum, because when you're in it, you don't realise you are going to come out of it, do you?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing, that you kind of think, I've just got to hold it together, put myself last. not consider my needs because I'm going to be able to do that later. And yes, that might be true, but later could be a long time. So
yeah, and later is
getting
different.
kind of
So people, I often speak to my friends who've had kids a bit later than me, who are in that baby phase, who I'm just so tired, and all they want to talk about is sleep and when are they going to get sleep, and I'm not there anymore. But it's the things that are difficult for me as a mum, something else. So
yes.
there's lots of transitions that you go through in motherhood, and it doesn't necessarily get easier; it just changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. What do you love most about being a mother right now?
I think someone who loves growing and learning, I think it's how deeply my kids teach me is something I love, and just that deep connection that you can have. And peace, my friend said this, it's peace starts within me. So how I am at home is how the house is. So it's a wild mix of being completely in love and completely overwhelmed. And it's relentless, but yeah, it's very joyful. But you've got to find that, be able to slow down enough to enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you come a little bit further along in your mothering like you have, you realize it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even through the upheavals and the mess and the challenges, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through it.
Yeah. You have to, don't you? There's no, that's a very common thing. People say, like, I don't know how you do it. Well, you just have to. You just do it. You just get on.
Yeah. And you learn from it. Like you said, you're learning all the time. And children teach us so much of what we need to know. Yeah. That's great. So I'm really happy that you've been able to come on, share your expertise, share all the tips and things for babies as well, maybe some things that mothers and fathers can be looking out for and some more awareness. Where can we find you? You've already indicated where you are, but just say again, how can mamas contact you?
So my business name is Balanced Bumps, and I've got a website, which is www.balancedbumps.com. I'm also on Instagram, so I have a lot of people reach out to me that way. And I just, that's the best way for people to contact me. I don't do online bookings or anything at the moment, so I just get people to send me a text. And yeah, I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, they're the main ways.
I'll be DMing you. You'll be getting a DM from me soon. Yeah, awesome. That's great. Thank you. It's been a very informative and just practical conversation. I love your work and your energy. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it offered something helpful to your own mothering experience. If you are a pregnant woman or know someone who is, head over to my website to receive your free copy of the postpartum checklist and contact list. And if you'd like to be better prepared for your postpartum, both practically and mentally, purchase the Peaceful Postpartum ebook, a 52-page interactive guide on what you need to know and what matters most in postpartum. And so that we can get these conversations out to more mothers, I'd be grateful if you could like, share, and review this podcast, and we'll see you next time.